I mean, I know I'm
Thank you all for being here. Wonderful to see this great crowd. It's very reassuring to see that the work we're doing is of interest to people. And my name is Max Niedzwiecki. I'm the coordinator of the LGBT Faith and Asylum Network, or LGBT-FAN. We're a national coalition dedicated to helping people who are seeking safety in the United States because of persecution based on sexual orientation or gender identity in their home countries. So let's see, just say a few words about what we're doing here. The title of this briefing is Freedom and Faith, LGBT Asylum Seekers in the U.S. We all know that the world is becoming more thoroughly globalized every day, and one consequence of that is that crises in any one country can have repercussions around the world, and particularly in the United States. And LGBT asylum seekers illustrate that point really clearly. They flee persecution in their home countries, torture, murder, imprisonment. They have no choice but to leave. They lack access to the refugee program, largely, although there are lots of organizations who are working to change that, and UNHCR, Department of State, I think are putting in good effort, but it's a hard nut to crack. So right now they lack effective access to the refugee program in most places because they need to remain secret about who they are for their own safety reasons while they're going through this process. Even if they do get in contact with American embassies overseas, they typically receive very little or no help. Not because the people at the embassies don't want to help, many of them really do, I believe, but the policies in place right now prevent them from being of help. So the best option for a lot of people who are able to do it is to come to the United States and then to seek asylum, to ask to be recognized as asylees. One problem that they come up with is that when you apply for asylum, you need to wait at least 180 days, so about 6 months after you apply for asylum, in order to legally work in this country. And so you come here, you don't necessarily have any money in your pocket, you're not able to legally work, so how are you going to support yourself? How are you going to have a place to live? How are you going to have food? What the heck are you going to do? It's made even worse by the fact that most government-supported social service programs in this country are not open to asylum seekers. They're not eligible for those programs. So we're here today to talk about what happens with these folks, what are some of the challenges they're facing, what are some of the policy solutions, and then what are some of the things that are being done to help LGBT asylum seekers, and how can more people be active in that help. So let me introduce our panelists. First, we're going to hear from Royce Bernstein-Murray, who is the Director of Policy for Heartland Alliance's National Immigrant Justice Center. She was formerly a consultant with the Center for Global Development, the World Bank's Nordic Trust Fund, and Human Rights First, and she's going to be talking about the policy issues that we would like to see addressed in Congress. Second, we're going to hear from Maggie, who is going to talk about the assistance programs that are run by the LGBT Asylum Support Taskforce in Worcester, Massachusetts, which is associated with Hadwin Park Congregational Church. Then we're going to hear from Dennis, who is going to tell us about his experiences as an asylum seeker, his personal experiences. Then we are going to hear from Rochelle Fortier-Mwadibia from PCI Justice, an international human rights attorney who represents clients before U.S. administrative and appellate courts and the Department of Homeland Security. And she's going to talk about her experiences in providing legal aid to LGBT asylum seekers in California. And then finally, we're going to hear from Mark Hetfield. Mark is the president and CEO of the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, or HIAS, an international NGO and voluntary resettlement agency. Previously, he served with the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. And Mark is going to talk about why faith leaders and people of faith should care about LGBT asylum seekers, the promise that faith-based organizations have for doing more to help LGBT asylum seekers, and the immorality of immigration detention.